Welcoming you to a life of awareness, the Presence Project is excited for you to join us for today's podcast with your host, Paul Kersner.
Hello and welcome to episode 84 of Are You Being Present? My name is Paul. I want to welcome you to the present moment. I want to welcome you to the here and now, and I want to thank you wholeheartedly, sincerely, and deeply for joining me in this lovely present moment. The title and topic for today's podcast is What Does Being Present Feel Like? Part 2. And I wanted to take some time to create a part 2 for this question because I check my analytics and see which podcasts are more popular than others, and this one stands out considerably. And I believe that there are a variety of significant reasons why a question like what does being present feel like stand out and need to be elaborated on. It's certainly worthy of my present seconds to go a little bit deeper into a question like this because of the way that we're indoctrinated into society, into the way that we're taught to be, into the things that we seek. And it's usually because of feelings, because something will make us feel different than what we feel. That's the whole basis around alcohol, drugs, psychotropic medications, all these different things that make us feel differently than what we feel in each and every present moment, every present second. So when patients ask me about what being present feels like, what my perceptions are, they are subjective to myself and my own experiences. And I will tell you that being present, there are definitely wonderful aspects of it, definitely wonderful facets of presence. And you can enter into states of bliss, but at the same time, you have to understand that because of being in the third dimension, there's duality to bliss. So if you're able to be present and you hold on to something like bliss, there's a good chance that you'll feel the opposite. And that's why I talk about neutrality itself. But let's get back to the question at hand and why we ask this question and why asking a question like, what does being present feel like? Why is it so popular? And it has a lot to do with the desire to not feel the way you're feeling in any given moment. And I chuckle because I understand, personally speaking, the different feeling spaces that I've been experiencing and that I experience, and how much I don't want to experience it, or my ego doesn't want to, or make me believe that I don't want to, and try to escape that. And so I don't want to present presence as an escape for any of the adversity that you're experiencing. We're not seeking or working towards presence to get out of feeling another way. We are working towards presence because the whole basis behind presence is the impermanence of every situation, of every moment, of every experience that you're enduring. The whole purpose of endurance and any lesson that you're being taught is to learn. And if you're using presence as a way to escape a lesson, that's not going to work in the way that you perceive or want it to work. Presence is entering into an experience to see it for what it is, to understand that the experience or the feeling that you're having has a beginning, middle, and end. Being present can at times feel very good because you're no longer bombarded with thought. But the challenge is that you cannot maintain a state of presence all the time, no matter who you are. It's just not possible because of the impermanence of presence. That's the kicker right there. Is that we seek to be more present or maintain a state of presence, but we understand at the same time that state of presence is impermanent because of the third dimension that we're existing in, the societal programming, which I consider and call the matrix, which is built around negative motivators. So we seek presence, or we ask a question like, what does presence feel like? Because we want to know what it feels like in relation to what we're feeling right now. Will presence feel better than how I feel now? And that's a very interesting thing to look at, to zoom out at. Why is it that you seek presence? What is it about the feeling space that you're looking for in opposition to what you're feeling right now? Are you looking to feel differently than you feel right now, and why? Because if you're feeling sad, upset, depressed, Well, if you're present, you want to dig into those things to see why you're feeling the way, and to understand also that it's impermanent, but also to look at the ego, the programming, the structure that's creating you locked into those feeling spaces. And to also understand that there's no easy way out. Feeling present is not an easy way out of what you're feeling at any given moment. Being present oftentimes leads to a state of discomfort because you're seeing things for how they are, for who they are and where they are. And that's very powerful. It is not always pleasant. And oftentimes in life, we're enduring adversity, sometimes more significant amounts of adversity than others, because there are a lot of important changes that need to take place. And where if we get to feel, and I say we get to because it is a privilege to get to, feel some of these feelings that are considered negative, but they're there to teach us. We shouldn't try to escape them per se. And it doesn't feel good to feel anxious, to feel nervous, to feel depressed, to feel sad. But the question is why are you experiencing all those feelings? Now, yes, I believe and support in the use of psychotropic medications for those people who have chemical imbalances. I support the use of psychotropic medications when there's a purpose and a period of use that someone's trying to go through to use it with intention. But I would say, from my experience clinically, that the majority of people on psychotropic medications are not using them the way that they were originally designed. They're using them to escape the different feeling spaces and keeping them numbed out to anything that's less than or more than what they want to experience in that moment. The challenge with psychotropic medications, the challenge with alcohol, the challenge with drugs is that the feelings that you were feeling before you decided to medicate yourself are going to be the feelings that are going to be existing afterwards. And oftentimes when those drugs wear off, whatever you were experiencing before is now compounded. It's even more intense than it was before. Being present allows you to see things, experience adversity, challenges, feelings with the understanding that it's not going to last and that there's a lot of opportunity that's sitting right in front of you, but you can't turn away from it. And I'm not saying that you have to ask for more of it, but when you ask a question like, what does being present feel like? The answer is completely subjective because it's different from person to person because of the subjectivity of the experiences that each individual has while they spend their time on earth. And we're all raised a little bit differently. But we all have societal programming built into us. That's why we're seeking to understand what presence feels like, because our egos want us to believe that that state of presence might feel better than what we're feeling now, and that's why we should seek presence. But that will only set you up for a disappointment, because if you really understand what presence is, pure presence is, it is a state of observation without judgment to see things for what they are, to work towards clarity. And a lot of times that has to do with a level of introspection. And introspection is not a very pleasant experience when you're deep in it, because you're taking ownership and seeing how things have played out without judgment, and you're also seeing how things are opening up for you in the present moment. And oftentimes that could be uncomfortable by itself. So when you ask me, what does being present feel like? It definitely feels good at times, but it also feels uncomfortable at times, because there are lessons that are showing up. There are people that are showing up. There are experiences that are showing up that are there to make me feel uncomfortable so that I will grow, so that I will continue to move forward and do my work, not in a way to try to escape those things, so that I can embrace those things, because I understand and I honor the experience for what it is, not for what I perceive it to be. I'm not using the feeling space of presence to escape an undesirable event or feeling that I have in this moment. And I also learn what presence feels like by not being present. So that's also the duality that exists within the work that we're doing. How are you going to know when you're present if you're not present? And there are times during my day, there are present seconds that I'll lose my presence. And losing is a very egoic term, but it will escape me at times. I'll get lost in thought. That's how I know I'm not being present, is that I start chasing all these different thoughts that start triggering these feelings and building these stories and mental movies. So that's how I know I'm out of the moment. And one of the ways that I know I'm being present is that I'm experiencing the present moment for what it is, regardless if I think that that's a positive or negative. That doesn't matter. I want to exclude those labels, and I want to be enveloped by whatever is presenting itself for me in that moment. I hope that this podcast is helpful because, again, you're going to, especially in the beginning of the process of learning presence and mindfulness, is you're going to ask a question like, what does present feel like? Because you want to know what you're working toward. But anyone who can answer that question is only answering it based on their own subjective experience of what presence is for them. What presence is for you is going to feel different, look different. But my insistence to you is not to seek out presence to overcome or numb out an experience that you're having in your present moments. That's not the point of the journey that you're having, because then we become more destination focused. Well, if I could just be present, I'm going to feel better. That's a misnomer. And that's just going to lead you to a place of frustration, because you might get somewhere else and then you're going to say, well, this doesn't feel any different than anything else, so why am I doing it? That's why I wanted to spend time on and build upon a question like, what does being present feel like? Because if I were to give you my subjective experiences, I don't believe that would be so helpful for you. But I want you to understand why you would ask a question like that in relation to the experiences that you're having now in this present moment. And I know that it's not easy, the journey that you're on, the questions that you have in relation to being present. It's a journey because every moment presents something different. It's a step-by-step adventure, if you will it, where things and people and places present themselves at any given moment that uproot you, that present new challenges that you didn't expect. Being present allows you to embrace whatever's showing up so that you don't resist it, so that you can accept it for what it is. That allows you to stay in that flow state where you're able to endure an experience or an adversity without allowing your ego to create more stories. And I know I'm being present or a feeling space of presence when I'm not enduring the senseless and ceaseless chatter of the ego itself. And yes, being present at times does feel blissful, but I know not to hold on to that. And it only feels blissful because I also know what it feels like to endure an ego that just wants to destroy me, wants to take me out of the present moment, wants me to make me believe things that aren't so. That creates the stories and the mental movies and the drama within my own head. So that's why when I'm not experiencing those things, I do feel a state of bliss, because it feels like a relief to me, but it's going to feel different to you. So the next time you ask yourself or you ask others what being present feels like, understand that any response that you get is based on a subjective experience from someone else. And it's important for you to go within to develop a presence practice, to use your presence practice on a day-by-day basis so you understand the nuances and the differences between when you're being present and when you're not being present, and what that experience feels like to you. As always, it is an honor and a blessing for me to be able to share this information with you. I hope you find it valuable, and I want you all to know that I wish you nothing but peace.
Thank you for listening to the Are You Being Present podcast, brought to you by the Presence Projects. Remember, you have a choice. Choose to be present.